Okay, so we're going to move on to step number 12, creating the mouse. What you're going to want to do is we can turn everything else off, and you can go in and take from that head, take the jaw out. If there's hair, we want to separate that hair so that the head is on a separate layer, the hair is on a separate layer. You can see that it kind of just encompasses, the head is over top, and then we have the jaw over top of that. Okay, you're going to take your jaw off and then you're going to turn it into a symbol. Now, very important where you place your pivot points. And what I'm actually going to do when you go in to use this as a sample, the mouths are all within their own symbols, because for this particular one there's a bunch of different expressions. You're going to know the expression that your character is going to have for the dialogue that you're using, so you're only going to need to do one set of mouths because for the most part they're probably going to be maintaining that type of expression. You can add in a few different mouth shapes if you want afterwards. That's no problem for specific sounds that the character is making. For the most part, we're just going to stick with the basics. So let's do, whoops, let's do smiling, I guess. Is this one smiling? I'm just going to copy the frames and I'm going to bring them out to the outside here. So this will be more similar to how you guys will have yours set up. So we can move the eyes in the middle. It doesn't really make too much difference because essentially what you're going to be doing later on is moving stuff around so that your blanks are where you want them, your mouth shapes are where you want them, etc., etc. Okay, so I'll make some blank keyframes here because you'll be doing the same thing to the well, we've got 1/4 and 3/4 here, but you'll be using the front view, 3/4 view, and then the profile if your character turns that far. What you may want to do is add in an extra little head here and do this over again for a 1/4 view. So it'll be in between your 3/4 and your front on. Will make your animations much smoother. And it's a good idea. A lot of times this 1/4 head though, you probably, it'll just be an in-between, so you could even have just a single drawing there with the ability to change in the mouths later. You know, we can go with that like as you need an in-between. You could just add it in and draw it in. Might save you time. If you think you're going to be doing a lot of head turning, you probably want to have this extra head in there. Okay. And looking at this, just realizing that this is just the 1/4 head, what I think I'm going to do is actually do the 3/4 head instead. So I'm going to go inside here, edit that one in place, and I'm going to copy these frames. Now, what you don't want to have had happen is been messing around with the symbol, and when you paste it out here, what happens sometimes is it's going to be a lot bigger, as you can see. Easy fix though. I can use the edit multiple frames option, and I just want to select the frames just for the jaws and the heads that I already have done. This isn't something that you're going to have to do because you're going to actually either be drawing them in or already having them outside on here on top, but this is just a good thing to know what to do. If you have symbols, you copy them outside and then they end up being a little bit bigger because he skewed stuff inside the symbol. Or you've skewed the symbol on the outside, etc., etc. These things happen. Okay, so it looks a bit weird. So I take the edit multiple frames off. I think we've got it mostly lined up. If I was being picky, which I will just go in and move them over a smidge. Maybe that's too much. And I can just check again. It's good to zoom in. That looks pretty good. Good enough for today. And then I can just get rid of that symbol. And now I just have one jaw. Okay. Let me make this blank for the next one. Now, when you're creating your jaw, I'm just going to go along and have these here so I don't have to do any drawing. What you're going to do is you're going to start with your first jaw. Now, this one's actually built a bit weird, and it's okay because it works okay for this character, the way that it's built. But you're going to want to create a jaw, you're going to create a symbol out of the jaw, you're going to want to move the pivot point. Now, for this particular character, it works well over here because the eyeball is actually hiding a myriad of movement underneath. So if I was to bring these jaws over, that eyeball is pretty much hiding everything that's happening underneath there. So it's a good trick, and you could have your pivot point over here and drop and stretch things. And I think the other thing that helps to hide it is the hair. So we can hide a lot of sins underneath there. So that's a good design detail. And if your character is built in some way, like if they have a big googly eyeballs that could cover over that, then you could put your pivot point over here. Some characters do not have that, these issues, or if Delilah is turned the other way, she might not be able to actually talk that way because her hair wouldn't be covering over what's happening here. So a good idea is to place the pivot point actually up here so this point doesn't move, because when you're using the jaw in this particular instance for the 3/4, you're just going to be dragging it down and moving it and actually moving it back. So if I was going to be creating the most open position, I would be dragging it down and dragging it back a bit to show that there's an open mouth. So that would be Delilah in her mouth at the most open state. So I believe if you're following the steps, you can go through mouth movement 1, going to be the regular state, closed mouth, and we can move the jaw to be at the largest point. What you could be doing if you're drawing your mouths as you go, which is a good idea. We could go in and I'll just start drawing some mouths in here. Now, I won't draw Delilah's mouths, I'll draw them a little bit more cartoony, which will probably be more in line with what you'll be building for your character heads. So we're going to start with the first mouth will be an M, so closed mouth. Maybe you have some lips to your character, but it'll be a closed mouth, okay? For most of it, we could consider a line. The open state, which would be frame 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Sorry. If you're following through with the actual handout, you're going to have M, and this is going to be a very wide A. Now, we can start in, sometimes what I like to do is see what my character is going to look like, and we can use the onion skinning at this point to start kind of drawing back and forth. We're probably going to want to leave the top of the mouth somewhat in its place. We can do a smile. So, oh yeah, what I like to do is actually go in and draw in the E, or the T actually is a good one. Because what we want to get is those top teeth, because your top teeth are attached to your skull, they're never going to move. Your bottom jaw will move up and down, but your top teeth will never move. So we want to always make sure that we're going to maintain, I'm actually going to get rid of that, we're going to maintain that top teeth line. So maybe we're saying T, A, my mouth's going to get a little bit shallower. It's going to open up. So we're considering the fact of stretch and squash here. And we want to make sure that you can either, make sure that we're drawing over them. And it's pretty much maintaining the same. Or what we can do is copy this frame, paste it in place, and then I would actually, let's go in and delete some of this, but leave those teeth so we can draw in the A. Ah. So now we've got M, we got the T goes next, and the Ah. Got 3 mouth shapes already done. So what we want to do for the jaws, we can do this quite quickly from here to here by creating a classic tween, and what happens is as we go through the other mouth shapes, the jaw will start to open, and we can actually go in and just make all of these keyframes and then remove the tween so that we have keyframes for each mouth shape the same way that you have here, so that when you want to separate them out, because there could be maybe this particular mouth shape is for 2 frames, so we want to have individual spots there, not just a tween that we stretch out. And we want to make sure that oh no, it says removed. Okay, so we get T. The next one is E. You could go in and use your handouts. The E is going to be a little bit bigger than the T. We're going to see 2 teeth, E. Oops. So the mouth is open a little bit wider. T. Maybe I want this to be a little bit lower as well, so the mouth is actually moving. So we've got T, E. Then we want L. And what I'm actually going to do is copy this frame. I'm going to open it a little bit wider, just slightly, and I want to have tongue coming up, and usually it's going to intersect the teeth a little bit. L, L. There we go. The next one is Ah. So it's just a little bit of a smaller. Ooh. La la la. There we go. All right, and then you've got a few more after that.